Hello and welcome to our webinar on maximising your RCNi Plus subscription. Thank you so much for making time to attend today. My name is Amanda Carter and I am Head of Product at RCNi, and I'm delighted that I've got some colleagues with me today that will be demonstrating some of the products that are available as part of an RCNi subscription. And we will also be looking at the sort of quite a long range of different things that we have. So we have talks about revalidation and ways that we can help with your career development. So I just want to go through some housekeeping with you. You'll notice that your video is off and your audio is off. And I wanted to reassure you that this is the case throughout the whole presentation. So if a dog's barking or anything like that, you can relax. You're not going to suddenly pop up on screen. But regarding asking a question, now some of you have sent in some questions pre the webinar, which is great. And we've got a question and answer session a bit later, as you can see on the agenda on the screen. But if you want to maybe during one of the presentations or sessions, you'll be inspired to ask us a question, you'll see that if you're on a desktop or a laptop computer, in the frame of the webinar, you'll see there's a button that says Q&A. If you want to tap or click on that, you can type in a question. And we've got a team that will be looking at that and getting those questions in front of us for the Q&A later. You can type or ask us a question at any point. It doesn't interrupt the flow of the speakers, and it might be that you've seen something that you're thinking, actually, I'd really like to know a little bit more about something that somebody's just mentioned. Maybe it's about participatory CPD, for example. So feel free to send questions in during the session. You'll see on the question tab, there's a thumbs up. And if maybe someone else has asked a question and you think, I'd really like to know the answer to that, do give it a thumbs up, because that puts it to the top and that puts it right in our eyesight. So we'll be able to make sure we hopefully get to that question later. And I also wanted to say that for attending today's live webinar, you will get a 1-hour participatory CPD certificate for attending, but more on that at the end of the webinar. So having a look at the agenda, you can see that we're going to be talking about how to personalise your RCNi Plus dashboard. We're going to be also looking about the resources that are included as part of your subscription and how best to use them and how best to benefit from them. We're going to do a couple of demonstrations for you. We've got some of you might be aware already of our RCNi revalidation portfolio, but we'll be going through that because it might be that some of you might not know about that or might be wanting to know what else we can sort of do. You can do with that. We'll also be looking at how to use your subscription for revalidation and for CPD, which I'm sure will be of benefit for everybody. And looking at RCNi Learning, which is where we've got our online learning modules, and also CPD quizzes, which are good ways to sort of build up personal CPD. So I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Daniel Parker, and he's going to talk about the session, how to personalise your RCNi Plus dashboard. I hope you enjoy the webinar.
Thanks, Mandy. Hi, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There we go. So this is RCNi.com. Once you log into your account from RCNi.com, this is a page you will initially see. In the top left-hand corner here, we've got RCNi Plus dashboard. If I go ahead and click on that, it takes me to my dashboard. Now, this is really the gateway to all things RCNi, where you can access topics and journals that are specifically of interest to you. That sits over here, but we'll come back to that shortly. As well as you can access your RCNi portfolio, find CPD that you can undertake, be it learning modules, quizzes, or webinars, find an event that you might be interested in attending, as well as find content that you have favorited. So when I say topics and journals that are relevant to you, the question might come up, how do you actually do this? So on the dashboard here, we can scroll down. I can see I've got a list of topics. Currently, I'm following news and asthma, but this might not be relevant to everyone. And there's a whole plethora of nursing topics which you might be interested in. So I can go ahead and click on topic list at the top over here. And we have over 200 topics that you can add to your dashboard. So you might only be interested in career development and blood pressure, for example. So I can just click on career development, Scroll down, click on blood pressure, and I can see here it's been added to my dashboard. If I click on RCNi Plus at the top here, we can see I have now got blood pressure and career development added to my dashboard. So by doing this, you will only see content on your dashboard that is relevant to you. You really sift through content which isn't relevant, and it's your own personal feed. You can almost think of it as a bit of a Twitter feed for content. You can go ahead and click View More, which will load the next set of articles. Don't worry, we don't only have 4 articles. It's sorted by the most recent down. And you can click View All, which will take you to a page focused purely on that topic. Jumping back to my Plus dashboard, Journals works in the same way. So if I click on Journals, we can see that I'm not following anything currently. But if I add journals to my dashboard, these are all the journals that we publish. And you might want to, instead of following individual topics, you might want to follow specific journals. So if I go ahead and follow Cancer Nursing Practice, for example, that has now been added to my dashboard. If I click on RCNi Plus again, and I click on journals, you can now see all that content is on my personalized homepage. Again, I can view more articles, which would expand the most recent articles. I can visit the journal website, or I can go ahead and view the latest issue in a digital page turner. That is how you will build your own content feed of content that is only relevant to you. Often people come to RCNi.com and they use a search bar to find content. And a great way to do that is to use your dashboard, search for a topic. If I could spell correctly, search for a topic, and you can add those all to your dashboard. It's a great way just to always get content that is relevant to you. That's the end of my presentation as to how to add content to your dashboard. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Claire. She will be taking over from here. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much indeed, Daniel. And hello, everybody. My name is Claire Lomas, and I am the Career Development Editor at RCNi. And I'm here to give you a whistle-stop tour of all the fantastic resources that are available to you with your RCNi Plus subscription. So as Daniel has just demonstrated, we have a huge range of topics that you can choose from, that you can add to your dashboard, depending on your speciality or your areas of interest. So with more than 200 topics, we've pretty much got everything covered, from leadership skills to career development, sepsis, end of life care. There will be something for everybody with all of our huge array of topics that we have available to you. So with your RCNi Plus subscription, you also get access to all of our RCNi journals. So that's 10 journals in total. So that's Nursing Standard and our 9 specialist titles, which includes Nursing Children and Young People, Primary Healthcare, Nursing Older People, Emergency Nurse. So you can see all our journals on the slide here. So whatever area of nursing or field of nursing you are in, there will be content relevant to you with RCNi. As with the topics, just select the journals that you are interested in and just add them to your dashboard. So within our journals, you will find a huge array of content presented in a variety of different ways. So as well as all the latest nursing news, we have the Nursing Standard podcast, which goes out twice a month. And this is covers a variety of both clinical and professional topics, from how to prepare for and succeed at job interviews through to things like pain management, assessing pain management, so featuring both clinical and professional issues. Now, over in our features and analysis sections, this is where we cover the topics in a little bit more depth. So the issues that are affecting nurses and nursing. For example, we have just produced an analysis on the current corridor care crisis that is impacting both the nursing profession, healthcare more widely, and obviously patients. We've also produced analysis on what to do if you're experiencing verbal abuse or physical assault at work, all the way through to things like how to manage your money in 2025, a very important subject for us all, no doubt. So in our analysis section, we also have our infographics. So these are in a slightly different style to the traditional analysis pieces. And these are our interactive, more data-driven stories. And the subjects, again, range we cover a lot of clinical and professional issues. So things like nursing pay, how to make sure you are getting paid what you deserve, the secrets of effective nurse leadership, and also we've done one looking at the NMC fitness to practice hearings. So what is the true cost of these hearings to nurses, for nurses rather, both emotionally and financially. Then we have our careers sections where you'll find a wealth of careers advice, from things like what to consider if you're going from thinking of going from a band 5 to a 6 or a 6 to a 7 and so on. So essentially what to consider before going for promotion, how to put together a good CV and supporting statements. There's some good practical tips in those pieces, and how to improve your work-life balance. So perhaps you might be thinking of a more home-based nursing role, or a role where you only do day shifts and you don't have to do nights. We've got articles looking at all of these kind of issues, and also things like what to consider if you want to become a clinical nurse specialist or an advanced practitioner. So if you head over to the careers sections of our journals, you'll find all that advice there and more. And last but certainly not least, we have our evidence and practice section where you will find our peer-reviewed content. And this is where our CPD articles sit. So these could be on a range of subjects, from recognising and managing migraine through to promoting person-centred care at the end of life. Our how-to series also sits in our evidence and practice section. So as the title suggests, this is how to do certain things, whether they're clinical skills or more professional issues. So, for example, how to cleanse a wound, how to undertake malurinary catheterization, through to how to reflect on clinical practice or put together an action plan with a nurse or a nursing student. So how can you use these resources? So as well as helping to inform your practice and your career development, you can use our resources in a variety of ways. For example, reflection. So if you listen to one of our podcasts or read an analysis, an evidence and practice piece, whatever it happens to be, and then you go away and you have a discussion with a colleague about what you've listened to or what you've read, if you then write that up as a reflective account, that can count towards your CPD requirements for revalidation. Now, all our evidence and practice content goes through a very robust peer review process. So you can also use it to help with your academic work, whether you're an undergraduate nursing student or doing postgraduate studies. So if you are looking for any clinical evidence for the subject that you are researching, you can reference all our clinical articles in any academic work that you are doing. Now, if you are an RCNi Plus subscriber, we have some exclusive things, especially for you. First up, obviously, is our e-alert. Now, this is a daily e-alert where an email is sent to all subscribers, and this contains links to our latest content. Like I say, this is sent out daily, so you're getting the most recently published content, whether that's a news, analysis, peer-reviewed articles, CPD opportunities, support with your career development or professional update, anything that can help you stay up to date with your practice and help you ensure that you are fit to practice. Every Wednesday, we also send out a newsletter to our subscribers. And again, this is exclusive content just for our subscribers. So this is an update and it's delivered via a short Q&A style with a nurse expert. So it usually contains around 3 or 4 questions in relation to a particular subject. And these are based on feedback from our subscribers and the kind of topics that we know they want to learn more about. And this also includes relevant links to previously published content. So just like I say, this Q&A summary is exclusive subscriber content. So this is especially for you. Then we have our events. So RCNi, as Daniel mentioned earlier briefly, does have numerous events, whether these are virtual events or face-to-face. So we have live webinars, as we are doing now. We also have nursing careers and jobs fairs, and also our 2-day nursing live event, which essentially is a celebration of all things nursing. Now, our next nursing live event is on the 5th and 6th of November at the Birmingham NEC. So if you haven't registered for that yet, do head over to our site, check out what it's all about and see if you'd like to sign up. It's a free event. And then finally, we have our CPD. So with your RCNi Plus subscription, you get to test your nursing knowledge and gain CPD hours towards revalidation with RCNi Learning, which you can see on the slide here. So this is our digital library of more than 170 interactive nursing modules. So that includes CPD modules, bite size, practical skills, all those types of things that you can use towards your revalidation and for your CPD. And you also get access to more than 500 exclusive CPD quizzes. And these, again, are on a huge range of clinical and professional subjects. So this could be from assessing pain in older people through to medicines management in children and young people. All you need to do is click on the quiz that you want to take, answer the multiple choice questions, gain your CPD certificate, and then save your results in your RCNi revalidation portfolio. And on that note, I'm going to hand you back to Daniel, who is going to demonstrate how to use your portfolio. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks very much, Claire. Right, back to our dashboard. In order to find your RCNi portfolio and set one up if you haven't done so already, you can come through your dashboard to this portfolio tab over here, or if you're going from the home page, there's also a portfolio tab right at the top. If I go ahead and click on this portfolio button, we can see our home page for the RCNi portfolio. Got the option to create it. We can see a few benefits about it, as well as helping you decide which portfolio is right for you. RCNi has got two portfolios. We have a revalidation portfolio. This is made specifically for nurses who are required to revalidate with the NMC. We also have a slightly stripped back portfolio for those healthcare workers who are not required to revalidate with the NMC. This could be for healthcare support workers, and even students can use it if you are a student. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up a portfolio. So we can just click on create your portfolio. First question is, are you required to revalidate with the NMC? This is just to ensure that you are creating the correct one for you. If I go ahead and click yes, it will ask me for my NMC PIN number. I have one pre-populated, as well as my NMC registration date. This would be the date which I registered with the NMC. So once you've entered your NMC PIN and your registration date, you can go ahead and click on create portfolio, and it creates your very own portfolio, brings you to the dashboard, and this is where you can keep track of all the requirements to revalidate with the NMC. So at a glance, we can see that it is my portfolio. I can see my registration date, and I can see my NMC PIN number at the top. It also shows me my revalidation period from March 2022 to March 2025. I know that I'll be due to revalidate in 2025. I've also got little cards here for all the requirements for the NMC. So I've got individual CPD, participatory CPD, practice hours, written reflective accounts, reflective discussion, practice-related feedback, health and character declaration, professional indemnity, confirmation, and then there's a great little space where I can store certificates that I earn or supporting documents which might not fit into all the other categories. These all have individual progress bars, and as I complete each section, these progress bars will populate, as will the main progress bar. So as you can imagine, some might take a little bit longer than others. For example, if I want to go and complete my health and character declaration, I can read through the requirements, confirm that I can make that declaration. I could add a supporting document should I choose, and then save that. Can now see that my health and character is complete, and my progress bar has progressed by 12%. Each tile, or each section when complete gives you 12%. Should I choose to add participatory CPD, I clicked the wrong button, but I can do it from this page. Let me go back to my dashboard. I can come over here, I can click the add button straight from this page. I can give my entry a title, I can enter a date, choose let me do this quickly. So we'll do this a test. I will enter a date, we'll go with the 29th to the 29th. I attended a course, which you could do for this webinar. The CPD activity, inquiry-based research. I can enter some text in here just to give a brief outline as to what it was. They need to identify parts of the code relevant to CPD. They're prioritizing people. You can then choose if you're a nurse, midwife, or nursing associate. Tick the relevant NMC standards. You then need to enter the number of hours of CPD time that you took. You can attach evidence of that CPD time. So when you receive a certificate for attending webinars, you could just attach that to this to prove your evidence, and you can then save it. You can see now the time which I entered here has given me 6% of participatory CPD time. I can go ahead and view this, and I can see it has been added to my portfolio over here. I can go ahead and edit that should I choose, or I can remove it from my portfolio if need be. So you can complete all the different sections, build your evidence, and once you have completed all of that, you can go ahead and click Download Portfolio. Should you need to provide evidence to the NMC, when you click Down Portfolio, it takes all the content that you added to your portfolio, puts it in chronological order, and it downloads it into one PDF that you can use to prove your evidence. You can also find CPD quizzes from here. Like Claire said, we've got over 500 quizzes. So you could select Take a Quiz, complete that quiz, and that'll go into your individual CPD time. And it just helps you stay on track with everything that is needed. Should a time come where you are no longer required to revalidate with the NMC, you can shift your portfolio to a non-revalidation portfolio, which we spoke about briefly. By going to your revalidation details, you can go to portfolio type, and you can click on Create Non-Revalidation Portfolio. That will start that process again. One more very important thing on this before I hand over to my colleague again is when you are adding practice hours, you are required to add your employment history. So you can do that through your employment history section over here, or you can do it through the portfolio itself. When you go into your practice hours, if you click Add, it'll ask you to visit the revalidation details page to add a new employer. That would take you straight to that page, which I just showed you. And that's how our revalidation portfolio works. It's a great tool that helps many nurses stay on track with their revalidation. But right now, I'm going to pass you over to my colleague, Richard, who will talk to you about CPD and everything that's available to you with that.
Hi, everybody. It is revalidation and all that you've talked about, which is brilliant. I was about to say how fantastic all this is, and I realised I work here. So I know, it's just amazing. Just a couple of things I quickly wanted to say, folks, before I fully introduce myself. The quizzes are very popular indeed. I mean, I love quizzes, but we just find that subscribers love the idea of self-testing and the fun of doing quizzes. So we have hundreds of quizzes linked around professionalism and clinical practice. And just to add to what Daniel was saying, as a nurse myself, revalidating, the first time, a couple of times I revalidated to a Libre Arch file, as I think a lot of us did, and on the shelf, etc. And then you realise that sometimes you do need to move things, as Daniel said, between people, and particularly if your confirmer is not somebody you're doing it in the same room with at a distance, you can actually move things quite easily through cyberspace. Whereas before I was photocopying stuff and saying, look at this, etc. So it has so many advantages. So if you jump to a portfolio, it has more advantages than you actually think. Anyway, I'm Richard Hatchett, and I'm the senior nurse editor for RCNi. I'm a nurse by background, and for my sins, I was the head of standards and education at the NMC when revalidation came in. So that's the point. That's the point. I get a thumbs down from somebody. But what I'm going to do now is go through with you a little bit about, I mean, a lot of this about revalidation, but how we can use RCNi Plus, your RCNi subscription, to more flexibly meet the CPD requirements. I think it's important, again, for us to remember revalidation is about protecting the public. That's what it was designed for. In fact, that's why the NMC exists, as we know. And the aim is, obviously, with revalidation, to try and move away from the risk, reducing risk. It's all about reducing risk of providing the public with substandard care, or at worst, harmful care. It all sounds very simple. You've got 3 years to do it in, but you and I both know that that time goes very quickly and you're suddenly ending up trying to pull everything together. So the key there is anything that adds flexibility to that, where you can draw on, as Claire was highlighting, a variety of different resources is good. But flexibility is great with CPD anyway, because you want to be drawing from different education sources, I think, rather than just stacking up lots of workshops that you've been to. Let's think flexibly and innovatively about CPD. I'll just highlight for you there what you probably, well, you should know already anyway if you're registering, what actually are the requirements. 35 hours of continuing professional development CPD in the previous 3 years and relevant to your scope of practice. The challenge, as we all know, is the 20 hours that must be participatory learning, and Mandy was talking about that earlier. That is a challenge because it's kind of bringing in the walls a little bit on the CPD. So we'll talk about that in a second and how actually the RCNi material can help there. Accurate records of your CPD must be maintained. The NMC provide details of what must be recorded, including your evidence and hours. Just remembering that you can actually use your own documentation on that. There are 3 documents with the NMC revalidation that you have to use, which are the confirmation, the reflective discussion, the reflective activities or accounts. But you can actually create your own document. But the portfolio or the NMC provide a template for that. The NMC don't prescribe any particular type of CPD, which is great. It matches all of the thousands of us who are on the register. It allows us to be very innovative and flexible. Okay, next slide. There is the participatory CPD. As you know, it essentially, from the NMC, involves interaction with 1 or more professionals. Originally, they didn't mention online as we're doing today. They certainly do now. And so participatory can be online, and you don't have to speak. It's nice if you do, but it's just you are sharing the learning with others. So you're listening to different views and perspectives. You don't necessarily have to actively participate, though obviously we all know that that helps if you can, but you don't. You're just doing the learning with other people, which allows us to think how we can achieve that with the RCNi subscription. So there you are, it can be in a physical environment or virtually. So examples are attending a conference or a webinar, as we know, with others there, a workshop, a training course, group meetings outside of everyday practice. So it's not sort of going to the meeting that you go to every day. It's where you're developing projects or services outside of normal everyday practice. Coaching and mentoring, either receiving that or giving that. Clinical supervision, taking part in clinical audits, that's another example of participatory learning, and being an expert witness. There are many more. That's just a selection of participatory learning. Okay, next slide. There we go. As we were saying, I think Daniel's touched on that very well. Our revalidation portfolio is built to the NMC requirements and contains the handy links to all of the NMC forms for where those are required, and gives you that progress. So as you do it over a number of months, it will tell you how far you've got to go to achieve all of those, the different outcomes that you have to do. You must also complete 5 reflective accounts. That can include an aspect of your CPD. As you know, it can be an experience or event in practice, and it can be CPD, or it can be a reflection basically on your practice. All other aspects of revalidation must also be completed, and you know there are quite a few of those. Okay, next slide. I hope. There we go. So that's really saying, let's look at how RCNi Plus can help you in achieving this, and flexibility and innovation is the key to it. Just the next slide, please. The thing to remember is revalidation is self-regulatory. So it is your responsibility to be honest and truthful, as we all are, of course, in the hours, for example, that you're stating that you're reading an article. It will vary. Claire may read an article. It may take her 2 hours. Sorry, Claire, you're a slow reader. May take her 2 hours to read. I may speed through it in half an hour. It depends, because it depends what you're drawing from that material, what your role is. I may just want a little bit of information from it just to update me. Claire may say, this is a subject completely new to me. I really need to read this in great detail, etc. We don't expect anybody, as we all know, to read every article from beginning to end. We do do shop around and pick little bits in and out. But that means Claire would record 2 hours, I would record half an hour. That's truthful. That's exactly what each of us have taken to do that. It also means that not everything, as you know, needs to be a certificate signed by somebody in a workshop or an away day, etc. It is up to you to hop into your portfolio and record what you've actually done. Nobody is saying, well, you couldn't possibly have done that. It is self-regulatory. There is an element of taking responsibility yourself to what you're doing. So this means that the resources are wide and varied, so use them innovatively. In theory, you could gain a great many hours by reading articles. One would suggest that it would be good to have a variety of different inputs there rather than just using one particular method. I just think as an educationist, that's good to do. It helps, I think, in your reflection, it helps in giving you just a variety of different ways of achieving and learning, because we don't all learn in the same way. But reading an article, a news story, a feature relevant to your scope of practice is all CPD activity, and you just need to record a few lines of what perhaps the name of the article or item that you've read. You might want to put the link in there, and just a few of the key points that you've picked up from that. It doesn't have to be, there's no stipulation on how much you need to write, but just stating that you've done that and you put your hours against that. So making notes as part of that learning and reflection, the evidence that you have picked up, etc., is part of that CPD activity. And then you may want to access and search for further supporting material. One of the good things, and I often say this when I work with authors for our material, is that we give you access to all of the journals, RCNi Learning, back catalogue and so forth. So that means if some article has pricked your interest and you want to know more, you can use your search box and see what else has been published. So one thing leads to another. So accessing and searching for further supporting material means that you don't have to have one article, there's my half hour. What else is there available in that area? If you're looking at leadership, communication, dementia, acute coronary syndrome, wound care, whatever you're looking at, as Claire said, there is a huge array of material across the 10 journals and across the back catalogue as well. So one thing leads to another naturally within RCNi Plus. Okay, next slide. So for participatory CPD, RCNi Plus offers access to our live events. I chair a lot of the CPD webinars. They're 2-hour webinars generally. They're very, very popular. We have hundreds of people attending them. It's participatory learning. You can, as Mandy was talking at the beginning about popping questions here, at those webinars, pop your questions in. Sometimes they're just comments of saying, we've tried that in practice and what we actually find that works better. And you really are listening, or rather reading often, what others are saying, and that is very much participatory learning. Nursing careers and job fairs are where you physically go, and there's lots of events going on there where you can get certificates by attending the workshops, but also just being there and listening and absorbing and hearing what people are saying is all about CPD. And we also have major events such as Nursing Live, which I think Claire was mentioning is in Birmingham this year and has been in Liverpool. So we're gradually coming south, I suppose. But they are very, very useful events. We had 150 speakers. They're free, as are the webinars. So they're excellent things to attend. I think it is worth quickly saying we're under pressure out there with our time, but also with what is now available and funded educationally. So it's good to look at anything where you're seeing those free events, podcasts and so forth. So obviously subscribing with us, it's a small subscription for a great deal of material, but also we do offer some free material as well. So it's good to look at those, because the days when I was younger, when they would almost fund anything, have long gone, sadly. Taking an article, news story, a feature, presenting it to a group, talking with a friend over coffee is all participatory learning. So that's great as well. And there you go, discussing an article, news story, a feature as part of supervision, mentoring, etc. Just involving other people, etc. is part of participatory learning. And just finally, the last slide is remembering, don't forget, because I've got to say this because I spend a lot of my time commissioning authors, you're all authors, you've got such expertise. Being an author or a co-author is excellent CPD work, and it certainly gets the hours up. And receiving peer review comment and you'll always get from us when you do an evidence and practice article, it is peer reviewed, and you get two pieces, two reviewers reviewing your work. In fact, it goes back through a review, so in theory you get 4, but that's all practice related feedbacks. Somebody's holding a mirror up to your writing and your practice, etc. So remember that when you do write an article, is it double blind peer review? Because don't forget, people are always surprised at that. That is practice related feedback. You're getting written feedback. And finally, if you want to be a reviewer, we have hundreds of reviewers, all sorts of nurses out there can be reviewers and bring their expertise to looking at their colleagues' work blind. So that means nobody knows who it is writing and who it is reviewing. But being a reviewer is an excellent CPD activity. So that's just in a nutshell the whole variety of work that we do that is available to you to achieve the flexibility, often in a pressured environment, that you need when you're doing revalidation. So I'll just hand back, if I may, I think, to Daniel.
Thanks, Richard. It really is interesting stuff. Right, I'm going to show everyone how RCNi Learning works now, where you can go and earn some individual CPD time by conducting online learning at your leisure. Coming from RCNi Plus dashboard, we can either click on RCNi Learning in the top navigation, which would take us there. We can click on CPD and RCNi Learning modules, which would take us over, or you can just go to rcnilearning.com, which is exactly what I have done in this window here. Once you come to RCNi Learning, you should stay logged in when you move from rcni.com to RCNi Learning. You'll arrive here and you can find modules that suit you. So we have got several different types of modules. We have got CPD modules. These are longer length. They'll take roughly 2 hours to complete. And you can scroll through these, find a module which suits your area of practice, complete it at your leisure. You'll earn 2 hours of CPD time for doing it, and then you can go ahead and save that to your portfolio. You can filter these modules down by filter type, so you can see I'm only viewing CPD at the moment. By your level, we'll go for qualified nurses, and then you can break it down to speciality as well as category, whether it's acute or community nursing as well. So that is CPD learning. We also have bite-sized learning. As the title suggests, this is learning in bite-sized chunks. You'll learn anything from 10 to 30 minutes CPD time for completing one of these modules. They all vary slightly in length. They're slightly more interactive. Bite-sized chunks, probably a bit more fun to do. You can really squeeze them into a coffee break should you choose. We then have practical skill modules. These are 1 hour in length. Very similar to CPD modules. They're a bit more longer form and really just focused on how to achieve something. And lastly, what we have here is our toolkits. These have recently been added, and these are quick reference guides that you can come to just if you need to reference something. These are PDFs. You can download these. You can stick them up in your trust should you choose, and they will have a QR code which relate back to RCNi Learning in some way, shape or form. So recommended cuff size for measuring blood pressure accurately. This QR code will link you to a learning module where you can actually go and learn a bit more in depth than this quick reference guide how to do this. Once you have completed a module in RCNi Learning, I'm just going to jump over to My Learning here. We can see you've got all the modules that you've completed. Live in one place. I have completed 33 modules. Going in here will just give me a quick overview to all the modules that I have completed. You can manage your CPD hours. We'll come back to that shortly. And we have got certificates achieved. So certificates here just allows me to see all these certificates that I have earned in RCNi Learning. I can download it, print it, share it to my social media, or I can add it to my portfolio. If I jump back, that's very much what the CPD hours earned is this is a great way for me to manage the hours that I have earned with my portfolio. So if we look at this module here, Approaches to Counter Loneliness, I haven't added this to my portfolio yet, so I could add it to my portfolio directly from RCNi Learning, write my reflective account and view certificate. I complete all of these directly here in RCNi Learning, and when I visit my portfolio, all my progress bars would have moved up a little bit, and it just really saves all that content over. If I jump into this module over here, it's a practical skills module. We can see we have a course description. All our modules will have this. We've got a course description, the learning aims and intended outcomes, the author of it. We can see the syllabus, what the course is going to entail, when it was last updated, the duration, and who it's aimed at. As Richard mentioned, all our content is peer reviewed as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue this module. Resume that where I left off, complete a post test for it. I'll just whiz through this test quickly. There are 5 questions at the end in a test. I was really hoping I would have got 100% given it's live, but can't all have what we hope for. I go ahead and I finish my practical skills module. It's just loading, and here it gives me the option, tells me I scored 40%. I've completed this module. I can then add the individual CPD to my portfolio, or I can view the certificate, which then gives me the option to add to the portfolio. I did see a question come in a short while ago about whether you can add other learning certificates to the portfolio as well. You can do that through the revalidation portfolio. In that bottom tile, you just click on Add Certificate and you upload it. You're just loading a file to it. Going this way here, you can just load it directly through the platform. If I go and add the individual CPD, you can see it's a little bit lengthy. Go test 2, just complete these here very quickly. We spent 2 hours on this module. Again, it's like Richard said, it's self-regulatory. Some people may take longer, some may take shorter, and I can save this to my portfolio. If I go and click save, that content has now been added to my portfolio. You can favorite modules, come back to them at a later date. We also have an alerts tab where you can see any new modules that are coming in, or if a module has been discontinued, you'll be notified of it there as well. We also have CPD quizzes, which I can access from my dashboard here just by jumping to exclusive CPD quizzes. By clicking on that tab, there are over 500 quizzes here. You can sort them by ones you have recently completed or ones which are yet to be done. You can search for any topic in particular, and these are really short 10-question quizzes. They're all linked to an article, so you can go read that article and then complete the quiz, reference back to it. We start this quiz quickly. What's great about our quizzes, much like learning, is you can add this content directly to your portfolio as well. It really is a seamless integration, which just makes learning that much easier to build that evidence for revalidation. Go and finish this here. You can see I have earned 30% on the quiz. I can view the certificate. It took me 20 minutes, add my revalidation to the portfolio. Now, if I jump back to the RCNi Plus dashboard, I'm going to go to my portfolio. You can see this is up to 13%. My individual CPD time has increased. I've now got 14%. This was 0 from the last time we were here previously. If I go in and view that, we can see I have got the module which we just completed in RCNi Learning has appeared here. And quizzes sit separately, they're a little bit lower, but here is the quiz which was just completed, sitting here too. That contributes to my CPD time. There are 2 progress bars in both individual and participatory CPD. The reason for that is individual CPD is optional, but mandatory CPD is not. So both progress bars will contribute to your total CPD hours. And whichever way you choose to conduct your CPD, whether you wish to do all 35 hours participatory CPD or 15 individual and 20 participatory, that's completely up to you. And that's why there's 2 progress bars. That's it from me. I'm going to hand back over to my colleague, Mandy, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you, Claire, and thank you, Richard, as well for today. So we're now on the question and answer part of the webinar. I hope you've enjoyed it so far with the presentations and the sessions. We've had a few Q&As come in. Well, a few questions actually. We're going to hopefully give the answers. So I'm going to start, and I will be sort of speaking to my colleagues. So I'll be asking some of my colleagues to answer these as well. But one of the questions that came in was, as an agency nurse, do you have any suggestions on how to get participatory hours? So for this question, I'm going to hand back to my colleague Richard, who can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, with participatory learning, I think, again, you're just going to have to think innovatively. There might be colleagues where you work regularly as an agency nurse who will be prepared to meet you. People will do a lot for a cup of coffee, and see if you can meet with them and go through this. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to meet with other nursing colleagues and go through this material with them. So do you have friends, colleagues who you can say, would you give me half an hour of your time, and so forth? I think it's worth looking as well. And some of this you'll have to do in your own time. We all know that. The webinars and looking outside of RCNi, what free webinars and material is available, the ones that we do. If you just go onto Google and put in RCNi webinars, a lot will come up. So I think it is thinking inventively, thinking about which colleagues do you really get on well with, who would slowly, it's over 3 years, so I think you probably will have to start a bit early and go through those colleagues that are prepared to sit with you and go through material and so forth. But it sounds like the webinars, the study days are possibly a good route for you to go for participatory learning. You don't have to contribute yourself to that always. It's nice if you do, but it's just being in the same environment. Can be virtual as well, so don't forget, some colleagues of an evening might actually say, look, we'll go on Skype together, we'll go on Teams together and just talk through with me the articles and the material that you're accessing. So I think you're absolutely right, whoever gave that in, you're going to have to think innovatively on that one, but it can be achieved. But time will probably be the thing that works most against you, so give yourself plenty of time to do that.
Well, thank you, Richard. Another question that came in was about how to highlight ways to access topics of specialist interest. So that might have been answered actually by Daniel earlier about the RCNi dashboard, searching the topics area of that, and you can sort of search by, you can sort it by A to Z, and you can search there as well. I'm just thinking potentially maybe, Daniel, is there any other, I mean, obviously search is a way to sort of find content, but I think topics would probably be the best way for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you could find topics in our topic list, add them to your dashboard, and that'll ensure that they always live on your personalized homepage.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Another question that came in actually a bit earlier on, and this was actually, this might be one for you, Claire, that maybe be able to help answer this one. But it's about how you can become an advanced nurse practitioner.
Thank you. Thanks, Mandy. Yeah, well, I'm the career development editor, so these kind of things are absolutely right up my street. So obviously, if you aspire towards some sort of specialism or advanced practice, it's quite a road to start going down. So what we do with our journal content, especially in the careers section, is we produce articles around this. So most of the content is advice based, because the feedback from our readers shows that what they want is tips and advice on how they can improve practice, how they can do this, or where they can go for that. So if you go over to rcni.com and go to our careers sections, nursing standard and our other journals, you'll see all the articles that we've produced on this. So we've got one specifically becoming an advanced clinical practitioner, what you need to know. Then we've got a day in the life of an advanced clinical practitioner, the different types of areas these nurses work in. So if you want any advice on how to, if you want to go down the advanced practice route, how to do that, head over to our website and just, if you put advanced practice into our search bar, you'll see everything that comes up, but with a wealth of advice on how you can go about making that a reality.
Fantastic, thank you. Richard, I've got a question for you actually now. So basically, one of their users, they're thinking about going to work with an agency, but they're wondering about how they'd get feedback for revalidation if they're not in the same place all the time, and also about how they can get group participation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar answer, I think, Mandy, to the agency question. I think give yourself plenty of time to think about that, and that's the message for every revalidation. All of you out there who've revalidated, you know, the time goes so quickly. When I first did it, the person who was going to do the confirmation was off sick and I had to find somebody else, etc., and time was running out. So just give yourself plenty of time, find those key people that you can, with plenty of time, approach and say, this is coming up, can I meet with you? Would you mind if I came in an hour early? Would you go through that with me? The participatory learning is, again, I think the answer to that one is find your key people. Be thinking ahead who is going to achieve what within the revalidation, who you can ask. Be prepared that they may say, I'm actually a bit busy, I can't do that, and you may have to shop around a bit, so giving yourself plenty of time. Participatory, I think we've covered. Webinars, you're going to have to look out for those events that you can go to. You may have to fund yourself. We all know that it's challenging out there, but thinking about those free webinars, those that you might have to pay for, yes, great, but I go for free to start with. Look at the quality of them. We do a lot of free webinars and free job fairs and so forth. So I think it's just spending an evening looking at and being flexible and innovative about what's out there that you can use, but you've got to be flexible. But I do think it's lining up those key people early on, particularly when you're moving around different hospitals, and be aware that time runs out quite quickly, and court those people to do what you need to do for your revalidation.
Thank you, thank you.
Before we go on, Mandy, sorry to
yeah.
interrupt. Can I just add to that
Yeah.
also on our website, we have an article, what activities count towards CPD for nurses revalidation, and that includes your individual and your participatory, and it's things like Richard mentioned earlier that you may not have thought of, like being an expert witness or a coach or a mentor. But if you check out that article on our website, it's got a huge list of what counts and also how you can go about accessing all of that as well. Thank you.
Cool. No, I like that. Thank you for jumping in. That's great. There was another question about how often does RCNi Plus organise CPD webinars? So I can answer that one actually to save my colleagues. But we run webinars like throughout the year. The best way to sort of keep updated about that is we have an event calendar on rcni.com. So we have all our sort of our programme of events that are highlighted there. So you can keep an eye on that. You can also follow RCNi on Eventbrite. That's if you want to be notified when we publish a new event as well. So so that's an answer for that one. But now I'm actually going to go.
Can I jump in on that one, Mandy? Am I correct in saying
do.
also that we record those webinars so they can be viewed asynchronously outside of the time frame that they're actually happening? I think I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that's right.
You know, if you're not available, it's usually between 12 and 2, folks. If you're not available at that time, they are recorded and you can access those and see the whole thing again. So you can do that, and there's a bit of flexibility on those as well.
That's true, yeah, because we have live webinars, but we also have on rcni.com, when you click either via your dashboard or on the navigation, you'll see CPD, and it's got CPD webinars on demand. So you can always, you can do it in your own time, basically, because it's it's hard to make time just at the time a live webinar is happening. So you can always catch up with us that way as well. I'm actually now going to just come back to Claire. There was a question that came in about there seems to be a lot of content that's like related to like NHS staff and few about like social care services. So I guess that's a question more about editorial, and maybe Claire, that's something you can sort of help answer that one.
Yes, of course. So with all of the content that we produce in our journals, the aim that we have is to make it as applicable to as many nurses as we possibly can. So, for example, if it's about improving your leadership skills, your communication skills, advice on time management, team working, we try and make it so that that is applicable to everybody, no matter what setting you're working in. Now, I think as the largest employer, the NHS, probably a lot of our readers will work within the NHS, which is why it may seem that the content is geared more towards NHS nurses than nurses working in other settings. But like I say, the aim is to try and make it as applicable no matter what setting you're in. So whether that's the NHS, whether it's private sector, whether it's social care, so that's what we aim to do. But we also have one of our journals, Nursing Older People, obviously is aimed at those caring for older people, and there's a lot of content around social care nursing in that as well. But we also have specific content for those working in social care. We do have content like that. So for example, we've got an article on nurse leadership in social care, and then we've got something on moving from the NHS to social care, so that kind of thing to consider. So these are it's sort of, it runs through basically all of our content, no matter what area you're working in. We're trying to make it as applicable to everyone, but some will focus more on NHS nurses. Some articles will focus, or content will focus more on those in the private sector, because obviously issues are different in the private sector than in the NHS. And then also those working in social care, but we do recognise that it's a hugely important area of nursing, so we do cover social care nursing as much as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. There was one more question. I'll see if I've got time to get to a couple of others. It was actually, maybe Daniel, this might be one that you can help answer. Can the revalidation portfolio be stored in digital form, or does it have to be printed?
Yeah, of course. So one thing I forgot to mention with the revalidation portfolio is that you create your portfolio, you enter your registration date, and the platform will automatically create your portfolio for your 3-year revalidation period. Once you have completed revalidation and you've gone past that time, the portfolio will automatically create a new portfolio for your next revalidation period. But don't worry, your portfolio is not gone. Just below it, there's a tab for previous portfolios, and you can go to your last one, 2 back, 3 back, 4 back. We store all your portfolios. As long as you have a subscription, you can access any of your past portfolios. You can update them, download them, keep working on them at any point in the future.
That's great. Thank you so much, Daniel. Okay, let's see. I might have time for one more question. Let me just have a little look and see if there's something that came in. Okay, so there was one question that did come in, and it was basically proof of attending a live webinar. So this is something that I'll be mentioning a bit later as well. But basically, yes, if you've attended one of our webinars, live webinar, we send out a certificate via email, and that normally takes about 7 to 10 days. Or it should be with you within 7 to 10 days rather. And basically, if it's not there, check your junk folders. And if you haven't had it at all, you can email our customer service team. That's customerservice@rcni.com, and put the title of the webinar in your in the subject of the email, and they'll help you out. So yeah, don't worry about that. I think we're coming now towards the end of the webinar. So if we haven't got to your question, apologies. We do run these webinars. As I say, we're going to be running them quite frequently. You can always email us. You can email our customer service team, and you know, if there's any questions that come up from today, obviously we'd be delighted to hear from you and to see if we can help you further. So yeah, basically, I just wanted to say thank you so much for attending today. We really do appreciate you giving up your time, and we hope that the presentations and the sessions have helped sort of realise the benefits of the subscription, and hopefully there's more that you can sort of do with helping you with your career development and your CPD. So I did mention before about the 1 hour participatory CPD certificate for today. So this will be emailed out to you on the email address that you use to sign up to the webinar. As I say, it can take up to 7 to 10 days, but just keep an eye on your junk folders. And if there's any problems at all, you can email our customer service. And you've got the slide beside you here, so you can see it, customerservice@rcni.com. You can always give them a ring as well. They're very happy to talk to you. And on our websites, when you go onto rcni.com or anywhere, you'll see we've got a little live chat. So these are people back there. So it's not a robot. You can message us there, and one of our customer service team will be responding to you. So, you know, you can get hold of us quite easily if there's an issue. And I just wanted to also just mention, we've talked a lot about what we do today, but if you're interested in helping us test future product ideas, this would be, we might email you some surveys, we might show you a glimpse of what we're developing. You can email PD, that's P for Peter, D for development. It's actually product, but anyway, product development at rcni.com, and you can join our discovery team. We've got over 300 nursing professionals and who are helping us already, and sometimes, yeah, it's always good to hear from you and for you just help steer us in our development. So that's great. Thank you so much. I hope today was of benefit. Have a lovely evening, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.